Welcome to the Movie Briefs. Today, we will be discussing another suspenseful horror film, Daytime Fog: The Search for the Murderer. The story unfolds in a historic mansion located in the Irish countryside. The protagonist, Laura, is in the process of repairing the floor. She and her husband purchased this property for $99,000. Currently, the house requires extensive renovations throughout and they have not officially moved in yet. Laura's husband, Ted, works as a physician at a psychiatric hospital. Because of his demanding work schedule, Laura has taken on the responsibility of overseeing the renovations, hoping that she and Ted can move in soon. Laura remained occupied with renovations until evening before heading downstairs. Just as she was preparing to drive back to the city, she suddenly heard a noise coming from the house and, feeling curious, directed her flashlight towards the source of the sound. She discovered that the window on the second floor had been broken by someone, which immediately caused her to feel uneasy. She rushed back into the house in a panic and quickly locked the door. Just as she was about to go upstairs to investigate, another sound came from outside, frightening her into immediately locking the door again and standing motionless in fear. She noticed a small window on the door and, feeling apprehensive, opened it. She saw a disheveled man standing outside, with a prosthetic eye covering his right eye. Upon seeing this, Laura became frightened and did not know how to respond. The man, who introduced himself as Andrew, urgently requested that she open the door. He claimed there was imminent danger in the house, and that when Laura left earlier, she had not closed the door, which allowed someone else to sneak inside. At first, Laura did not believe anything he said. She told Andrew that her husband would be home soon and instructed him to leave immediately. However, Andrew explained that Ted would be working late that evening and revealed that he was one of Ted's patients. As Andrew continued speaking, he grew more agitated and began rambling, claiming that he had overheard Ted saying something to a colleague at the hospital, which compelled him to rush over immediately. In response, Laura called out to the upper floor asking if anyone was present. When she received no response, Laura insisted that the man leave immediately, warning that she would call the police if he did not comply. However, when Laura threatened to call the police, Andrew became even more agitated. Laura looked up at the pitch black upstairs, unable to see anything, and felt a deep sense of unease, a chill running down her spine. As she prepared to approach and insert the key to open the door, Andrew's expression became increasingly urgent, signaling that a nightmare was about to begin. The scene then transitions to 1 year later. A patient is seen sitting in a room, listening to music and focusing on his painting. Suddenly, a scream is heard coming from the adjacent room. Drew turned off the music and felt curious, so he prepared to investigate the source of the sound. However, when he reaches the door, he finds that everything has fallen silent. Compelled by curiosity, he opens the door. Whatever he sees causes him to panic, leading him to quickly shut the door and retreat into his room, cowering in the corner out of fear. He has an ominous feeling that whatever he saw is about to force its way in. Frightened, he quickly hid under the bed. As the door opened, Drew pressed his hand firmly over his mouth, closed his eyes, and did not make a single sound. Once the sounds outside faded, he released his grip, opened his eyes slowly, and returned to the room of the neighboring patient. He was shocked by what he witnessed. After collecting himself, he bent down to pick up an object from the floor. He wiped it clean against his chest and realized it was an artificial eyeball. The bloodied and disfigured individual lying on the floor was Andrew. His head had been severely crushed, creating a scene too gruesome to witness. The scene then transitions to Ted visiting a local antique shop. The shopkeeper, a visually impaired woman, cautions him not to touch any items, explaining that each one carries a curse. Upon hearing Ted's voice, Anna gradually smiled. It is revealed that Ted is her brother-in-law and that Laura had passed away exactly 1 year prior. Ted, intrigued, asked Anna what she had been holding earlier. "It seems that you were paying a lot of attention to it." Anna explained that the bell was the most fascinating item in the shop, as it was said to be haunted by a spirit. Ted found the claim unbelievable and dismissed it as nonsense. Anna proceeded to explain the bell's origin. She recounted the story of an ill-tempered man who had worked as a hotel waiter for much of his life. One night, while escorting an intoxicated guest back to their room, he was pushed down the stairs by the guest. He suffered a broken neck and died instantly. A few days later, the receptionist rang the bell to summon a new waiter. The deceased waiter allegedly appeared, enraged in response. Upon hearing this, Ted was tempted to ring the bell himself to see what would actually happen. However, Anna cautioned him against making light of the situation, stating that everyone who had previously rung the bell had died. She stood up and prepared to return the bell to the storage room. Suddenly, Ted announced that he had something for her, a false eyeball belonging to Laura's killer. This was the reason for his visit. Anna had previously requested such items from Ted, knowing she possessed a unique ability to view the actions of the deceased through their possessions. Anna accepted the artificial eyeball, held it tightly, and expressed her hope to discover whether Andrew had felt remorse before his death after murdering her sister. After handing over the item, Ted announced that he was leaving. With the first anniversary of Laura's passing approaching, Anna said she would like to have a meal with Ted. Upon hearing this, Ted openly mentioned his new girlfriend, stating that he would bring her to meet Anna in a few days. Only now did she realize that Ted had already moved on to a new relationship. After Ted left, Anna retrieved the artificial eyeball. She gently pressed it with her left hand and witnessed the events of that night, discovering that Andrew had not been the one to harm Laura. However, it was actually an individual wearing a mask and dressed in black attire. Upon witnessing this, Anna became extremely angry. Frustrated by the fact that the perpetrator remained at large, Anna went to the storage room and knelt in front of a large box. The items inside had been left to her by her late mother, who also imparted the skills related to these belongings. She resolved to use the items inside to take revenge for Laura. Several days later, Ted had just gotten out of bed. While descending the stairs, his new girlfriend Lisa called out to him, holding a camera and stating that she had something to show him. Initially, Ted did not notice anything unusual until Lisa zoomed in on the image, revealing the appearance of the late Laura. Ted assumed it was a double exposure caused by the camera and, feeling fatigued, expressed that he did not wish to view it further. Lisa was somewhat displeased by this and remarked that the previous night, just as she was about to go to sleep and turned off the lights, she saw Ted's wife appear in the hallway. Lisa expressed that she was not ready to move in yet and preferred to remain in her own apartment for the time being. Upon hearing this, Ted had no choice but to agree. During their conversation, Anna was brought up. Immediately afterwards, Lisa directed Ted's attention across the room, indicating that the box had been delivered by Anna that morning, though she was unsure of its contents. Afterward, Lisa went to the door and opened the small window, discovering that Anna was already outside. Witnessing this, Ted immediately opened the door and escorted Anna into the house. Initially, both Ted and Lisa indicated that they were occupied and hoped Anna would depart. However, Anna explained that it was Laura's Memorial Day and expressed her desire to remain. In response, Ted had no alternative but to agree. Shortly thereafter, Ted left for work. Soon after, Lisa came downstairs with her luggage, preparing to return to the city. Unexpectedly, she noticed that the contents of the box had somehow come out on their own. Lisa, curious, asked Anna why she had taken the item out. Anna responded that she was not the one who had removed it. As Lisa prepared to leave, Anna mentioned that she was somewhat hungry and requested Lisa's assistance in preparing some food. It was evident that Anna did not wish for Lisa to leave. Lisa simply stated that there was food available in the refrigerator. After this, Lisa discovered that the car keys, which had been hanging on the wall, were missing. She searched thoroughly inside and outside but was unable to locate them. Feeling helpless, Lisa had no choice but to stay and prepare dinner for Anna. As they sat down to talk, they brought up Laura's history. Anna explained that she would not easily allow strangers into her home, and the narration then shifted to events from a year prior. On that night, Laura indeed did not open the door for Andrew. Upon seeing this, Andrew instructed her to stay alert, and if she heard any noises, to immediately open the door and escape. Laura turned her head to look upstairs, and when she refocused, she realized Andrew had already left. Laura had just closed the small window on the door when she began to hear strange noises coming continuously from upstairs. She anxiously retrieved a hammer from the toolbox and picked up a flashlight, scanning his surroundings. Suddenly, Laura noticed the camera positioned across from her and immediately recalled setting it to time-lapse mode to document her experiences. She promptly moved forward, picked up the camera, and returned to the tent. As she reviewed the photos, she was startled to see that an individual dressed in black had stood outside her tent. The sight frightened Laura so much that she did not dare to make any noise. At that moment, she was overwhelmed with fear. After regaining her composure, she opened the tent and prepared to leave the area. She saw the masked individual calmly squatting on the ground, watching Laura intently. She was so frightened by what she saw that she collapsed in the tent, completely unable to call for help. Lisa heard Anna say for sure that Andrew was not the murderer, so who was the one who harmed Laura? The scene transitions to Ted's colleague conducting room inspections. On the night Laura was attacked, Ivan visited Andrew in the hospital and persistently questioned him about his whereabouts. After speaking, Ivan firmly demanded that Andrew go to bed at once. On that same night, the sounds Drew heard while painting were the very noises Ivan made while committing the crime against Andrew. Lisa was deeply shocked upon discovering the truth. Curious, she inquired, if Andrew was not the perpetrator, how did you learn all of this? Anna calmly took out her prosthetic eye and told Lisa all about her abilities. Meanwhile, Ted was engaged in a chess game with Ivan. He soon received a phone call from Lisa. Lisa relayed to him everything Anna had shared. Ted became extremely anxious upon learning that Ivan was the perpetrator. In order to prevent Lisa from discovering the truth, he continued to feign composure. Lisa and Anne immediately returned to their room, locked the door tightly, and assured each other they would return soon. After ending the call, Lisa went to the upstairs balcony and looked intently at Anna downstairs. After regaining her composure and looking again, she noticed that the doll's head was now upright. Lisa, believing she was hallucinating, prepared to go downstairs to retrieve her phone. Upon going downstairs, she found that Anna was already asleep. She approached the doll and retrieved her phone. Lisa was curious to understand the purpose of the doll. She noticed that the top of the puppet's head had 5 holes. She retrieved a pair of surgical tweezers. First, she extracted a tuft of white hair identical in color to Anna's. Next, she discovered a photograph of Anna and Laura from their childhood. Finding these items unusual, she also pulled out a human tooth. These discoveries made the doll seem increasingly unsettling to Lisa, and she then extracted a tube of tomato juice from inside the doll.
Put them back!
What is this?
Put them all back. Now.
Upon hearing this, Lisa was startled and quickly put the items back in their place. After Lisa went upstairs and turned off the lights, Anna soon sat down facing the doll. Anna mimicked the posture of the doll, creating an eerie atmosphere as if she were attempting to communicate or connect with it. Later that night, Lisa got up to use the restroom and noticed that Anna was still sitting motionless in the same spot. Assuming Anna was asleep, Lisa proceeded directly to the bathroom. While Lisa was fixing her hair, the light suddenly flickered. Witnessing this, Lisa became extremely frightened, left the bathroom, and found Anna still asleep in the same place. Feeling unsettled by Anna's strange behavior, Lisa immediately went upstairs. After returning to her room, Lisa took Laura's camera and looked through past photos and moments she had shared with Ted. While watching, Lisa vaguely sensed that someone was standing at the doorway. When she turned off the lights and continued watching, frightened, Lisa immediately ran downstairs to the living room. Out of fear, she picked up a nearby knife to protect herself. Strangely, despite the commotion, Anna did not wake up. No matter how many times Lisa called out, there was no response from Anna. Suddenly, a noise came from the large box behind her. Driven by curiosity, Lisa approached and opened the box, discovering a set of car keys inside. Taking the keys, she rushed outside in fear, leaving everything else behind. Upon stepping outside, Lisa saw the woman from earlier standing at the entrance. This scene frightened Lisa so much that she hurriedly drove away from the place. Shortly after, Ted returned home to find the house completely dark. So he found an oil lamp, lifted it, and walked inside. When he entered, he only saw the doll lying in the living room. The rest of the people were nowhere to be seen. Ted searched throughout the house and eventually found Anna kneeling on the floor upstairs. He asked her with curiosity, "What are you doing here?" Anna told Ted that a caregiver named Ivan had killed Laura. Ted replied that he had a colleague named Ivan. He said that Andrew was the real culprit who harmed Laura. As Anna looked up, she appeared to transform into Ivan, seeming confused and repeatedly expressing remorse. Anna described how Ivan dragged Andrew off the hospital bed and ended Andrew's life, and Anna insisting that he would inevitably face consequences for his actions. At this point, Ted believed Anna was having a mental episode and considered taking her to the hospital for evaluation. However, Anna refused, stating that if she went to the hospital, she would be confined. She claimed that Ted had arranged for Ivan to kill Laura in order to pursue a relationship with Lisa. Upon hearing this accusation, Ted panicked and did not know how to respond. The story then flashes back to the same day 1 year ago. Ted believed that if he confessed to Laura about his new relationship, Laura would never leave him. He thought the best solution was to have Ivan kill Laura directly, and this conversation was inadvertently overheard by Andrew, who was nearby. Therefore, that night, Andrew came to rescue Laura.
I'm going to see to it that you lose everything. Your girlfriend, your job, this house, your freedom.
Ted asked Anna if she remembered the officer in charge and instructed her to call him to clear her name. However, Anna did not believe Ted and insisted that it would be better if Ivan was also present to resolve the situation. Ted explained that he did not have Ivan's phone number. He said he would leave his phone here, and once he returned to the office, he would have them call. He emphasized that she must answer the call at that time. After finishing speaking, Ted hurriedly ran out the door. Shortly after, Anna heard the phone vibrating. The wooden plank in front of her had already been removed by Ted, who left the phone behind and instructed her to answer it. This was part of Ted's plan. He intended for Anna to fall to her death while she was unable to see. Ted realized that Anna had not answered the phone for an extended period. Afraid to go himself and wanting to confirm whether Anna was still alive, he informed Ivan of the situation and asked Ivan to go and check on her. Ivan soon arrived at the scene. He found Anna lying on the ground, barely alive. Ivan quickly located Ted's phone and updated him on what had happened. Both believed they were no longer in any danger. However, Anna made a strange gesture, suggesting that she had entrusted her heart to the doll. As Ivan was about to go downstairs, he noticed the doll turn to face him. He dismissed it as an illusion and did not pay much attention. However, when Ivan reached the ground floor, he discovered that the doll had vanished. This startled Ivan, causing him to flee in panic. When he saw that the doll was about to catch up to him, Ivan, out of fear, jumped directly down from the upper floor. Unfortunately, he broke his leg upon landing. The doll soon approached and seized him. The doll grabbed his head with both hands and lifted him up. It seemed satisfied that its vengeance was fulfilled, and it stopped breathing entirely. Ted arrived at the scene, destroyed all evidence, and set the doll on fire. A few days later, Lisa also left Ted, driven by fear. One day, Ted unexpectedly received a package. Upon opening it, he discovered it contained the bell that Anna often carried. As a member of the medical profession, he placed his trust solely in scientific principles. He hesitated for a moment, then rang the bell. Afterwards, he looked around, trying to determine if what Anna had described was real. However, after scanning the entire area, he saw nothing unusual. Ted smiled with satisfaction, unaware that the deceased waiter was standing right beside him at that moment. In fact, the film contains many hidden details and visual cues, such as the bell that Anna frequently holds. The bell is depicted as a cursed object that symbolizes an endless cycle, linking the spirits of the past with present-day wrongdoing. Its presence signifies that the curse remains unbroken. It will continue on in a new form. Additionally, the director incorporates subtle visual storytelling techniques. For instance, close-up shots focus on the doll's grotesque appearance and the 5 small holes on its head, which contain unusual items such as tomato juice and hair. Each of these elements is presented individually through detailed close-ups. This approach highlights the role of these objects as both symbols of horror and instruments of revenge. The film utilizes Anna's psychic abilities to reveal the layer of horror concealed beneath the facade of humanity. Fake child dolls and cursed objects such as bells are used to connect a sequence of conspiracies and acts of vengeance. The narrative thoroughly exposes Ted's selfish cruelty, as well as Yvonne's complicity. Anna ultimately fulfills her revenge through an act of extreme self-sacrifice. The film portrays the despair and resistance experienced by the families of the victims. The open-ended conclusion implies that evil cannot escape retribution, suggesting that the dark side of human nature will ultimately face consequences. This concludes the story.